Hi everyone, welcome again to another of our video Q&A series with the most exciting projects in the Theta ecosystem. My name is Wes Levitt, and I'm head of strategy at Theta Labs, and today I'm joined by Anas and Narve of Bullit. So welcome guys, looking forward to talking about what you guys are building in Theta these days.
Thank you to have
Thank you,
us here.
Wes. Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Look forward to have a good discussion.
Yeah, so we obviously we'll cover a lot about what you're building on Theta, what Bullet is, and what it does. But first of all, just on a personal level, I'd like to ask what got you guys into crypto in the first place, and what took you from there to now building the Bullet project. Anas, why don't you start?
Yeah, thank you. So actually, this when anyone reach and enter the crypto, let's say community and crypto world, he think about it as an investment. This is actually all of us maybe start as that, but when we start looking for the technical background and what's happening in the background for these technologies, you start to notice there's a lot of potential. It's not just a financial transaction, let's say. Uh, Ecosystem. It's more and more, and this is what we're trying to do here with Bullet using Theta, which is starting this, let's say, uh, to be ahead of more utilities and more use cases for blockchain technologies.
Yeah, I kind of want to compare it to Dropbox and WeTransfer, but we are actually instead of having it centralized, we're using Theta and Theta blockchain, where that will be secured in a much different way. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say that Bull is like a new file type that can contain any type of content,
Mm-hmm.
and it can only be opened by the intended receiver upon acceptance of the sender. And the good thing is that the sender can also put in their terms and conditions that needs to be accepted before they can actually download any kind of file. So in the future, the product, every transaction will be recorded on the blockchain. So it's super secure, and also in addition to that, the bullet files will have an option to be converted into an NFT to ensure the ownership. There is absolute the evidence, and it's recorded. So this is why we
Mm-hmm.
also really like Web3, being able to work with Theta, because of the owner being able to have the control of the data. And we
Mm-hmm.
want we do not want to sell customer data, which is a typical business model today with the big companies. We want to offer a solution that the companies that actually use this service can monetize on their own data. So that's kind of like the key element here.
Yeah, the part that you guys are doing that really caught my eye is that you're using NFTs potentially as a way to unlock that customer data, or I should say, unlock the file storage that a user, whatever they store using the Bullet app, which I think is really interesting. You probably have noticed with Theta, we are really pushing toward new NFT use cases that go beyond necessarily just an art piece, which is by far the most popular now, but the the apps that are using NFTs in more under the hood type ways, where it is useful within the app, even if the user doesn't even know they're using an NFT on that. Can you talk a little bit more about why you would use an NFT to unlock the file storage? Because there's other decentralized storage apps that don't use those. What's the main benefit to using NFTs as the way to unlock their data?
Yeah, for sure. It's as a start, the NFT in general represent the ownership. So this is bullet. When anyone send any kind of file, it's we trying to put more value in a file and call it digital assets, because this kind of file, who knows what it's contain, and sometimes it's really more valuable than anything. So when we talk about the NFT, once you include your digital asset in the NFT, this is the only proof or
Mm.
evidence you are the only owner and the first owner for this digital asset. And this is what it's become more and more when we ledgering all of the transaction after creating the NFT. So you have a proof of all of the activity, if it's previewed, downloaded, if it's received by the other parties, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
this is where we find that the new, let's say, use case for the NFT. It's not just art and some investments.
Yeah, I think the point you made about being provable that you're the only owner is a really important thing to pull out of there because if you have a digital wallet for most blockchains, you can have a private key to access that, but there's no real effective way for me to give you the private key in a way that I don't still have access to it. Like so, like say the contents of a wallet, I want to give them to you, but there's no way to actually give them to you that I can't still go back in and take it at any time because it's no way for you to know that I didn't copy the private key. If there's a provably limited item, this NFT that is the way you unlock it, then it actually is. I can really sell you access to that wallet or that store, and you can know for a fact that I'm not just going to take it back anytime I feel like it. So I think it's a really key innovation you guys done there.
Yeah, and this is where our smart contract, once we publish the smart contract, it will be public, so anyone can even see the process. So you will see all of the flow for what we using in the back end. So you don't even need to trust us with this kind of stuff. So you will see it published, and you can audit that. You can read that the rank, etc. This is where the dApps actually have more value than any centralized services right now it's providing.
So would you say then Bullet is more of the front end or the user interface to use this smart contracts? Because I assume there's nothing you're hosting at any time for the customers itself. You're not hosting the data yourself. You're not hosting anyone's access or their NFTs. Is that correct?
This, yeah, it's all well managed by the smart contract itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the most obvious use case, of course. There's just the more straightforward data storage, but I imagine there's a lot of other things you can do once you've built out this technology. So, what are the other use cases you're envisioning for Bullet to use? What other problems are you looking to solve?
Well, that's a good question. There's so many interesting use cases, and we're just starting to look at how to get going with that. But apart from the small businesses that can use Bullet as a service, we believe that there are many sectors that will take advantage of using our service as a SDK and integrate it into their platform. So, for example, the legal, financial, and insurance sector maintaining their corporate clients confidentiality. You have the corporate and telecom sector, SaaS and consumer to enterprise solutions. You can mention healthcare, for example,
Mm,
um, marketing and entertainment tracks and captures who use communications and harvest email addresses and so on, and obviously government, any kind of military grade encryption, secure architecture, and so on. So there's
mm,
that's like the big ones, and then all the smaller ones, all the small businesses that will definitely love to use this for many other reasons, and not just the security part of it, but also having that access, having the possibility of starting their own business and making a lot more money through that kind of platform than the existing one. So
mm.
uh, we truly believe that this is just like the start of a new revolution for these kind of businesses. Once we have a better interface, once we have a better product that we are going to now uh, take out together with you.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting because it's not just that it's the data storage through Bullet is secure. It is, but so is an encrypted file storage today without blockchain. So that's something that both sides have. But it's the big innovation to me is the flexibility and programmability of this storage in this case. For example, you mentioned healthcare records. The first thing that came to mind is I may want to share my healthcare records for a given period of time or only for this specific situation, but then I don't want them to live on the healthcare provider servers forever or to be sent to anyone they want. Or maybe you don't
Exactly.
want it provided to a government authority after they decide to look at those. Um, and of course, there's ways that people try to prevent that. There's GDPR in the European Union, but that's not
Hmm.
as reliable as knowing that the only access is with a token that you granted them that can be revoked, and that's all provable on chain. You could even program it ahead of time that access to your data store is only for 1 week, and then after that,
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
automatically gets revoked when a certain block height hits. It's just a lot different, a lot more options once you have the programmability to it.
And it's not
Exactly.
just, yeah, sorry, Manave, and it's not
No,
just
go ahead.
that. It's when we talk about security and privacy, it's you just need to keep adding layers and layers. It's not about just one day, one task, so you can do it and be 100% proof about your security. So we with Bullet, we adding a new layers of security. You can keep whatever you already used and just add a new layer of security to your system and keep going with it. And for the users as well. Because right now, if you send an email, there's a security aspect for sending an email. But what if Bullet will be just a new layer so you can use it anywhere with any kind of data sharing to add this layer of security without even harming the current flow you already used. So it's a win-win, let's say.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's important because I can tell you from our uh, dealing with enterprises that already have a full infrastructure stack. In the case of video for Theta, they're not looking for something that just demolishes their existing stack. And even if they were, in practical terms, good luck trying to get that sold up the chain of approval in a big company. So something that can
Yeah.
be integrated with the existing system and augment it and improve it. In practical terms, that's going to make you're going to have a lot easier time getting that adopted.
And we need to always to start because we're using Web3 blockchain. It's not the, let's say, the best fit for any kind of business. So we will try to do this SDK and provide it as an option for their client. It will come across. You can use it, you can leave it, and there's some interest will start, and the adapter will start to grow as we go, and as we marketing, as we explain more to the users how this new Web3 concept will give you back the control of your content, etc. So we are ahead a little bit of these technologies always, but and you need to take this step and keep going.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned the SDK coming up. So when are you targeting to release that? And more generally, what's the roadmap look like for Bullet? What's in the next coming months for people to look forward to?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, for those who don't know, we already published the beta version 1. Right now, Bullet.app, you can use it. And this is just a proof of concept of using the private and public key to secure and decrypt your files and your data sharing, let's say, flow. And we right now we have the Bullet SDK sandbox package in Q2 in the next couple of months maximum, and we will have the Web3 integration. Web3 integration, we will start to support MetaMask and Theta Wallet in the system, so you don't need even to use your email anymore. You can just connect your wallet and have a signature, then
Hmm.
go further to the next step to start sharing your data, receive it as well. And we will have block marking recording. This one, it's just a ledger for all the transaction will happen to your file once it's created from the beginning. Once you create it until the receiver get it, review it, download it, or maybe share it, so you can have all of the flow. um, then we will have the pay to open service, which is you can set up a payment process in the middle of the process. So if you send a file, I need the receiver to pay me something in return before even getting access and decrypt this file. So it will be an option. Then we will have in the end of the year the Bullet SDK package, which is we will have a full documentation, full API, full let's say this SDK package published so anyone can use it. But we will have some fees in return, but it's not announced yet. So this is
Hmm.
what's coming. And for the SDK package, it's like, as I mentioned, it's providing new business model for the developer and come and to utilize Bullet technology. It's not, as I said, just need to change everything, all of your structure. It's just add new layer of security for your system. And the
Hmm.
sandbox package will start in the next month. it will be limited to 10 partners. We will announce the partner's name. They will start using it as, let's say, in the educational course phase, so they can know what it's mean, and then get the option to see if this is a good fit for them to use it once we release the final release.
Nice.
Well, and I want to mention also, apart from that, I have many other things that I'm pushing over to Anas, and I think I'm stressing him a little bit. But it's, apart from doing that roadmap, and then looking at how we can get the technology up and running well together with Theta, is also about the user experience. And I think that's kind of what's been missing a lot in the existing technologies. There's a lot of good technology, but we're still in like a baby phase when it comes to actually make a good interface between the existing Web 2 over to Web 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, being part of, from a bank finance background within payments, we just see how important it is to just have like a super seamless experience in order to actually get as much, potential clients on board.
Mm-hmm.
Because, just one small step and you lose maybe 30% of your business. And I think that's going to be one of the key elements as well, that we hope we can be part of to enable a much easier interface onto your platform.
Yeah, you certainly will touch a lot of pretty sensitive businesses and sensitive data potentially. I do think compared to say at the core what video what Theta works with, there is perhaps a little less so than if you were starting to touch heavily regulated industries like banking, medical records, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it is something where security is going to be paramount for you guys. It's of course you wouldn't be the first hack in crypto, but it's never an easy situation. So I'm glad that you're making security a focus in that development.
It's a challenge we need to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's always a challenge between security and user experience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's always something you have to give away there in order to make it, good. And sometimes too complex make it less secure as well. So, not even having the, possibility of actually writing down or remembering a password, end up storing it somewhere. So there's
Yeah.
always those kind of cases.
Oh yeah. In crypto, you see plenty of examples where with good intentions, you make a highly secure system, but the more technically secure it is, the more prone it is to user error. And at the end of the day, if
Exactly.
you lose or have private keys stolen, you don't really care how it happened. You just are upset it did. So you have to think about the human element too.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah. So we mentioned a few times actually in that an important thing that we hadn't discussed yet, which is uh, if I'm a user that wants to store data on Bullet, what are the economics behind that? Who am I paying someone to store data, or who is how do I transact if I'm getting value out of the network? Who's earning for their work there?
Okay, so because this is it's not confirmed yet when we will add the blockchain and Web3 integration. It's not confirmed 100%, but technically it's obvious it will be paid by gas fees, and
Mhm.
we will start to put more utility for Bullet token even inside of the ecosystem. So it will be for burning some of the coins, so we can get pay the gas fees, then keep going with the product and keep going with serving the services for the users. So I would keep myself down because the technical team today told me don't push more information about the coming technically, especially because it will make them with more pressure. They already have their task, they already have their roadmap, and once we will start to announce it, it will be with more details about what's next.
Okay, well, as I haven't been on the other side of that many times, I won't push it to anything that's not public yet. That's never a good place to be. So we'll look forward to updates along the way.
Sure.
So a lot of folks in Theta community obviously are eagerly seeing how one of the new projects like Bullet is coming up in the Theta ecosystem, and they're curious what that means to them in the Theta community, or how are you contributing value to them? Do you see that Bullet is something that fits in with other apps in the Theta ecosystem, or how do you see Bullet fitting in?
Good question. I think overall it creates another D app on the Theta blockchain. It will trade in the T Fuel pairs in the future, and T Fuel Theta token will be needed to run certain features in the future. We also feel, given the development, the roadmap for Theta, that Bullet shows of all these dynamic features quite well, which will we presume will result in more applications being built on Theta. So that's
Mhm.
what we're thinking of. Apart from offering services that we think most of partners can also include into their own ecosystem.
Right. For example, with the SDK, if they want to bolt that onto an existing D app they're using and basically add this storage component, then that could be something they could easily do.
And we
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we let's say think about to do a competition for a freelance academy we run here in Turkey, and they have plus 10,000 developers, just let's say fresh developers. It's their first year after graduation, and let's call it a hackathon for to build something over the SDK for Bullet. And if we can find like 100, 200 new use cases for this kind of data sharing, security privacy aspect using Theta network, it will bring more interest of the Theta network in general and the Bullet SDK as a specific case for the hackathon.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you know, when we think about any kind of blockchain or network, it's about what's built over it. It's not about the blockchain itself. It's more about how the developers and how the industries companies start work and build a new use cases for this network. And this is what where we can find our value for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I 100% agree about even besides the direct value bringing, there's a huge indirect value in that you're building out new building blocks that can be used by other dApps, so that will encourage other developers to get involved. We think about that a lot because we're a relatively small team. We focus mostly on building the underlying technology, and we do build products as well that use Theta blockchain, the Theta SDKs we built for video sharing. But we do think of ourselves as technologists first, and teams like you that are stepping in to actually build very user focused products around it are a pretty key part if we want to actually get to mass adoption of this, because um, that's what it takes to get actually your consumer users, your non crypto native, your non technical ones. They need an app they can use that's assumes they know nothing about blockchain, or at least very little, nothing they can't learn now. So that's super important.
Exactly.
To the extent you're bringing in other developers as your community grows, which are then part of the greater Theta ecosystem as well. That's hugely valuable too. Certainly, when you're ready to put that hackathon together, we definitely need to connect, because we'd love to throw our support behind it as well, and show that we're, uh, as a company, are supporting it. As developers, we're here to help and provide dev support to your users that are building on Theta and so on. So yeah, absolutely see the synergies there, where it makes sense for us to be working together to encourage more people building.
Perfect.
That's great. We will make sure to send the invitation for that one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think uh, we focused a lot, especially more so now, like say the last 6 to 12 months, where we've been putting on more hackathons, encouraging more community projects. But it's always something we're looking to improve on and make development easier on Theta. So you've spent some time now building directly on Theta blockchain in our ecosystem. What are the things you think need to improve, or what are the things that would make your life easier as developers to let you more effectively build Bullet?
Yeah, I would start to appreciate this because we don't see. no one even see any other blockchain or network asking their developers what you need us to approve. This is maybe the first case I have in the last 12 years in development. But after all, I would say it's a little bit a tricky technical answer, but I hope you this is will be recorded, so the, the, the the technical team will pick up after this call.
Sure.
It's about the Theta Network RPC adapter. It currently does not support the non-standard method. This is actually from my team. And they have some challenges about the quality assurance process after building smart contracts. So we would like to see this support soon. So especially when we start to bring new developers for Theta, they will be fresh, new for this kind of development. It will help them more and more in the test, let's say, test aspect of their smart contract without going through a long process to see their errors, to see their results from this smart contract.
Got it. So this would streamline their ability to audit contracts and make sure that what they're probably is just makes them able to iterate faster on their testing. It sounds like.
Exactly, exactly. It will just push it will speed up the process for the auditing. Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point, and I know uh, we've talked about revamping our RPC nodes internally, but we've also recently had some talks with at least one company that uh, provides RPC nodes specifically for different blockchains. That's their whole business model is to provide always up, very efficient, and presumably standardized RPC nodes that could fit the bill for something like this. So yeah, we'll dig on that specifically, and the fact that it's could make the difference between how fast you can go to market with a new DApp on Theta blockchain. I think when you frame it that way, that's something that should be a high priority.
It is, yeah. Especially
From
for the newbies, it's not for everyone. Some experienced developers will handle that easily, but when we talk about new developers and fresh minds, they will struggle a little bit, especially in the start.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add also, since I'm not on the developer side, I'm more on the marketing innovation side. I would love to see a lot more, use cases, products that, or not real products yet, but use cases that we can see how we can utilize your platform better, because
Mm-hmm.
there's so much right now, so much focus on the tech, and that I understand completely, but it was so good to start getting a community as well, starting to look at different use cases and make them visual, make people understand more, because I think there's so many potential cases here where top CEOs, they don't even have a clue how they can position themselves into this platform or this new
Mm-hmm.
business opportunity. And I think we would all win a lot if we start also looking at that side of the table, because they need to get up there and understand really what's going on. They're
Mm-hmm.
still on that metaverse and the selling pictures for millions. They're still at that level, and worried about the crypto. They need
Yeah.
to also understand that the great potential and the possibilities. So I can't wait to see how we can create maybe a community that will be more on the visual marketing innovation side, that actually makes people understand this is like a new world that has so many potential business opportunities.
Yeah, the stories about crypto that filter through to your average executive, all the time it's what's reported in the news is going to be the most ridiculous ones because they're going
Yeah,
for
exactly.
clicks or entertainment value. So unfortunately, the first things they hear about are Dogecoin and a hack and an NFT selling for $70 million and so on and so forth. So the
Exactly.
the maybe less sexy but more useful in a business case. Those type of use cases probably not making it to their radar just yet. So I think it's really important to show them those. In this initial 10 partners you referred to, obviously that's great in itself to get enterprises on board and using your product. But I think just as important is taking those use cases and now you've got something that you can actually show to these other executives and say this is not what you were thinking of if you were just thought of crypto as hacks and scams and memes. There's a lot
Exactly.
more to it, and here's a direct line to how we can help your business.
Absolutely. And I'm also thinking about those, smaller businesses, those creators that are today not making a lot of money, that has the possibility of actually taking a new step and trying to position themselves into this business opportunity as well, making them understand what kind of, roadmap can they do in order to be part of this.
Hmm.
So I think that's a huge market.
Yeah, yeah. So there's actually a question, Nas, that you had for me. I love that you're turning this around, and that's why it's a two-way street. We always like to communicate. So I give you the floor. What did you want to ask about recent development that we're making?
Sorry, I losing you.
The question you had about the Theta Meta chain we recently announced, and what that means for devs.
Yeah, exactly. So my question actually even from my technical team. So what are your thoughts about the latest white paper meta chain and what does it mean for the scalability of Theta ecosystem and dApps
Hmm.
like Bullet? Because this is especially because that there's like 200 developers. We have not interview, let's say a session together, and we discuss Theta, we discuss the latest white paper, we discuss what they need to build, and in the next day you guys publish the meta chain. So they feel. Do we need to discuss? Do you need to learn this? Do you need to educate ourselves
Sure,
more in this one? So let me know your thoughts, what it's mean, the
of
new meta
course.
chain. Yeah.
Of course, and yeah, and the first most important thing is, it'll be going live on testnet in about 6 or 7 months, and then another 2 months before it goes to mainnet. So, um, do that deliberately, announcing way ahead of time, so there's plenty of time to bring in all the community developers and make sure everyone's on the same page and has the documentation and tools they need. So, we'll make sure and get everyone prepped far and ahead of time. But yeah, just to go about why we created are working on Theta Meta chain, which for those of you who didn't read the white paper already, in layman's terms, it's moving to a model where you effectively have a chain of chains, where the Theta blockchain or mainnet that you know now will essentially sit in the middle of many different subchains that can be purpose built for different use cases, or we expect in many cases individual dApps may have their own subchain. Two big reasons for that. One of them is scalability. While Theta doesn't have quite as severe congestion as Ethereum on the worst day, we're already starting to see uh, cases where, for example, Theta TV transactions, if not bashed off chain in a layer two or off chain micro payment pool, then you're already bumping up against congestion times if there's too many users. And as new dApps come online, that's just going to make things more and more crowded. And we want to get ahead of that before we end up in a Ethereum like situation. And give dApps users, creators, anyone that wants to spin up their own subchain, basically have their own channel where they don't have to share transaction throughput with any other dApp built on Theta. So part of it's scalability, of course. But the other thing that I think people overlook is the real benefit here is the flexibility and being able to customize the parameters of a given subchain. Now there are some things that are going to be required throughout. For example, you will have to use some Theta to stake as collateral to create a subchain, and T Fuel will be the gas token not only on the Theta main chain but also any subchain. So a few of these things will be consistent throughout. But beyond that, there's a huge amount of flexibility in how uh, your subchain can operate. So let's say there is a Bullit subchain. If you decide over the coming months that you want to develop your own subchain for that, then Bullet or any other TNT20 token you release could be the governance token of that and have its own set of validators where you can have any type of governance you want. Maybe a more private enterprise focus would want a very small selected number of validators. Other dApps will want completely open where any user can become a validator with no permission whatsoever. It's basically a sliding scale that each subchain will decide for themselves how they want to operate. Because it's not one size fits all. There's going to be different use cases that want different things. Fee structure is another important one. Maybe you want lesser or more T fuel to be charged and more to come from a central pool because you want your users to not have to pay any gas fees. Um,
Uh-huh.
I think there's a relatively easy way to have TNT20 tokens basically act as a proxy for the gas, which are then paid against T fuel another way. So there's lots of different things where if your use case is different than one that's totally different, like a DeFi application, you don't all have to work with the exact same set of rules. So that's it in a nutshell. It's scalability. So we don't, as more dApps come online, we're not running into congestion issues, and then just giving you guys the flexibility to build almost exactly what chain you need that's perfect for your dApp.
And is there any kind of limitation? So, for example, if I need to build something tomorrow and it will be my sub chain bigger than even the main chain, and somehow, let's say that, is there any kind of limitation to do that, or
In transaction volume, do you mean?
yeah?
Yeah. So in theory, there's going to be a transaction limit of any chain, but any blockchain, any subchain in this context.
Uh-huh.
Um, but my guess is that when we get to that point, and this is getting a little beyond my tech knowledge, but JE should have some insights onto this, where you can simply run them in parallel, almost like sharding. Now, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
guessing I'm guessing in implementation that's a little easier said than done. Probably a little more complexity than me just hand waving away that you'll just run multiple subchains. But certainly, if you have different cases where uh, you can isolate different pieces of it, like maybe a storage element goes here. If there's something else, or here's a more specific example. You are working with multiple enterprises that are all using Bullit for storage, and let's say this medical company, you sit them all on one subchain because they don't have a huge need to communicate and interact with the storage that's on this subchain that's for a gaming company using Bullet.
yeah.
So there's probably some intelligent ways to do this where it's done efficiently, and you don't have quite as many of the issues with sharding blockchains where they constantly need to communicate with every other shard. That's probably not true in all use cases.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. This is awesome, actually.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, you're bringing up
It's
some
awesome.
important questions that, as we actually, as in the coming months, as Theta Adapt developers start digging in on testnet and start building it out, that's perfect example of the kind of feedback we'll need, so that as we both for the first production launch and also just in further iterations of this, that we can guide development toward what's going to work for you guys as developers.
Sounds awesome. Looking forward to that. Sounds awesome.
Great. Oh, I was about to end, but I just saw there's a community question that someone asked, what can Theta community do to help support Bullet?
Yeah. This is when we talk about the community, not Theta Labs.
Yes, yes. What can the community do to
Actually, for Bullet, we just need more support and more spread the news. There is some new utility for the blockchain. So, for example, I'm trying last maybe 2 weeks to just discuss with 10 years old kids, what do you think about blockchain? What do you think about the Web3? What do you think about the NFT? Because they all know the board ape, nothing else, you know. So when we will start with Bullet to communicate, we trying to utilize the blockchain and Web3 services without being more complicated. As uh, Narvi yesterday have a nice comment about this. We need to set up a simple booking card when you go to the any e-shop, um, commercial shop, and you just need to buy. My kids can buy, my wife can buy, me can. So anyone can do it. This is what we're trying to do with Bullet, and this is what the community, let's say, responsibility to spread the news. This new Bullet system, it's to share your file, to share your data without being complicated, but we will use the blockchain technology in the backend. This is what we need from the community. Just support and spread the news, nothing else.
Okay, great. Well, right after the stream, we're also sending out where you can find more info on Bullit. So happy to send our Theta community that way and get them more involved, because it's also great a great way for you to get feedback on development. Just like we like that for Theta blockchain. You know, your own users are the best place you'll ever get feedback from.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming on, Anas and Narve. It's a great conversation, and really excited to see what you guys continue to build and on the Bullet roadmap as it comes up. So, yeah, thanks for joining, and we'll look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you very much, Wes. Looking forward to this hackathon together with you.
Excellent. Yes, I'll be part of it for sure. All right. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Take care.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Cheers.